You know, you look at the news cycle lately, and it's pretty hard to ignore all the talk about global trade, right?
Hmm.
Especially the U.S. and
Yeah,
tariffs.
it's definitely front and center.
And it really sets a backdrop, I think, for this wider conversation on, well, economic competition, particularly when you throw in how incredibly fast AI is moving,
Exactly.
which is precisely where we're diving in today. We're looking at that exact intersection, global competition, technology, but through the lens of AI.
And it's perfect timing, actually.
Yeah.
We've got the Harvard-affiliated AI Index Report for 2025 just out.
The eighth one, right. So it's got some history.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Eighth edition, so it brings that weight, that context.
Yeah,
But the findings feel incredibly current, especially with AI just, spreading its wings across society, the economy.
absolutely. And this year's report, it seems like they really got into the weeds on some key stuff like AI hardware, what it actually costs to run these models, inference costs, they call it.
That's right, inference costs. And patent trends, too.
Yeah, patenting trends globally, it feels really thorough.
It is. And our goal here today really is to pull out the absolute must-know insights, maybe some surprising bits from the report, especially focusing on that global race and the speed of tech change.
So you, the listener, can get up to speed quickly, basically, without needing to read the whole thing cover to cover.
Exactly. Okay, so where do we start? The report kicks off painting this picture of a really buzzing global AI scene.
Right. And while North America is still, a major player, what really leaps out is the growth elsewhere.
Like Greater China.
Yeah, Greater China saw this huge jump, 27 percentage points up in AI use compared to the year before.
Wow.
And Europe, too, not far behind, a 23 percentage point rise. That feels like, well, serious international competition heating up and actually using AI.
And if you tie that back to the economic context we started with, like the U.S. tariff discussions, these AI adoption numbers, they take on another dimension, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
It could really signal, future economic clout, competitiveness.
Mhm.
It feels like countries are getting very strategic about AI.
So North America might still be leading overall in usage now, but that dynamic is clearly shifting fast.
Definitely shifting, something to keep an eye on for sure,
Yeah.
thinking about where things are headed economically.
And it's not just usage, it's innovation too. The
Yeah.
patent numbers in the report are, well, they're pretty staggering.
Oh, yeah.
Between 2010 and 2023, AI patents just exploded. Went from like under 4,000 to, get this, over 122,000.
Whoa. That's massive growth.
And nearly 30% of that increase
Yeah.
happened just in the last year.
Okay, that's acceleration. So who's getting these patents?
Well, that's the interesting part. China is way out front in the total number, granted.
Uh,
Almost 70% of all AI patents worldwide as of 2023.
70%, that's
Yes,
dominant.
it is. But then the report adds this other layer, looking at patents per person per capita.
Oh, okay, so relative to population size.
Exactly. And suddenly, places like South Korea and even Luxembourg pop up as really intensive AI innovators.
Luxembourg.
Yeah. So it makes you think, right? What's the better measure of innovation? Just the raw total, or how focused a country is, regardless of its size?
That's a great point. That per capita view does paint a different picture, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Shows leadership isn't just about scale.
definitely. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. What's actually powering all this AI? The hardware, the report's got some eye-opening stuff there, too.
Right. The chips, the infrastructure, what's the trend?
Just incredible speed up, machine learning hardware performance, growing 43% a year, doubling basically every 1.9 years.
Doubling every 2 years, roughly. Wow.
And it's not just faster, it's cheaper for the power you get. Price performance is improving like 30% a year.
Okay, so more bang for your buck.
Exactly. And greener, too, in a sense. Energy efficiency is up about 40% annually.
Which is crucial, right? That combination, faster, cheaper, more efficient hardware, that's what makes AI more accessible. Lets more people and companies actually build and use this stuff.
Totally. But it's not all smooth sailing. The report flags this, maybe slightly concerning trend, the shrinking data commons.
Shrinking data commons. What's that about?
It sounds like more and more websites are putting up walls, restricting how their data can be scraped or used for training AI models.
Ah, okay. Like terms of service changes, robots.txt files getting stricter.
Seems like it. The report says the amount of this restricted text data on active websites jumped from maybe 5-7% up to like 20-33% in just the last year.
Oof, that's a big jump. And that could cause problems, couldn't it?
How so?
Well, I mean, AI models thrive on diverse data. If large chunks of the web become off-limits, you risk creating models that are less knowledgeable, maybe more biased based on what data they can access.
Right, less variety in their diet.
Exactly. And it affects things like alignment, making sure the AI does what we intend, and just the basic ability to scale up models. If the data pool shrinks,
Hmm.
you might need new approaches.
Like maybe relying more on synthetic data, generated data.
Potentially, yeah. That's one avenue being explored. But ensuring that synthetic data is accurate and useful is its own challenge. Definitely something critical to watch for the future of AI development.
Hmm. Okay, something to keep an eye on. On a more, perhaps exciting note, the report talks about big leaps in what AI can do. Video generation, for instance.
Ah, yes, things like OpenAI's Aura.
Yeah, Sora, stable video diffusion, models from Meta, Google DeepMind. The report basically says the quality of AI-generated video just shot up dramatically in 2024 compared to before.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it? A year or two ago, generating decent video from text was like science fiction. Now we have multiple systems doing impressive things.
Yeah, the pace is just wild. Think of the impact on creative industries, entertainment.
Education, training,
Yeah.
tons of possibilities.
And it's not just flashy video stuff. There's this other really interesting trend. Smaller AI models are getting seriously good.
Right, efficiency gains. Not
And-
just bigger is better anymore.
Exactly. They highlight Microsoft's Phi 3 Mini, tiny model, relatively speaking, but it achieved the same score on this big benchmark test, MMLU.
MLU, yeah, the multitask understanding one.
Right, same score as Google's much, much bigger PaLM model, but using 142 times fewer parameters.
142 times smaller. That's
Mhm.
that's genuinely remarkable.
Isn't it? Parameters are like the knobs the AI learns during training. Fewer knobs generally means smaller, faster, cheaper to run.
That's a huge deal.
Uh,
It suggests we're getting smarter about designing these models, not just throwing more data and compute at them. Smaller, efficient models are easier to deploy everywhere, right? On phones, local devices.
exactly. It could really sort of democratize access to powerful AI.
Definitely a trend to watch. And this power is moving into some really critical areas too, like medicine. The report mentions foundation models for healthcare.
Yeah, names like MedGemini, EchoSleep, Vision FM. These sound like big general AI models trained on medical data that can then be fine-tuned for specific tasks.
Like analyzing medical images, maybe helping with diagnoses, drug discovery.
The potential seems enormous there.
Absolutely. And it ties into another point in the report, the sheer growth of publicly available biological data. Protein databases like UniProt, AlphaFold, they're expanding rapidly.
So you've got more data and better AI tools to analyze it.
Exactly. It's a powerful combination for accelerating scientific discovery, especially in life sciences.
Okay, so the capabilities are growing, models are getting more efficient. What about the cost of actually using these things?
The cost question. Always important.
The report had some pretty dramatic numbers here. Said the cost of querying, like a GPT 3.5 level model, dropped over 280 times in about 18 months.
280-fold drop. Seriously.
Yeah, and depending on the task, the cost for inference, just getting an answer from the model, fell anywhere from 9 times to like 900 times cheaper per year.
Wow. Okay, that's making high-end AI incredibly more affordable fast. That lowers the barrier for so many potential users, businesses.
For sure. But there's always a but, isn't there?
Usually is. What's the catch?
The environmental cost. The report points out that while using models is getting cheaper, training the really big ones, well, the carbon footprint keeps going up. From older models like AlexNet to the newer llamas, training just consumes more and more energy.
Right. The training cost versus the inference cost. So we're getting more efficient at using them, but building the next generation of massive models still has a significant environmental impact. That's a really important tension.
Definitely a trade-off to think about. Which leads nicely into the last big area, responsible AI.
RAI, ethics, safety, and governance. Yeah, super important. What's the report saying there?
It notes a definite increase in global cooperation on AI governance this year, 2024. Big organizations, OECD, the UN, publishing frameworks, guidelines.
Okay, so more international agreement on the need for responsible development. That's positive.
Yeah, a growing consensus that we need guardrails. And it also mentions, maybe slowly, but it's starting actually evaluating AI systems against these RAI criteria. New benchmarks are popping up, like Helm Safety, AirBench.
That's key, isn't it? Moving from just talking about principles to actually measuring if systems meet them.
Right. And it ties back to that data issue too, right? The shrinking data commons. People are exploring synthetic data more, but then you need ways to make sure that data is factual and doesn't bake in new biases.
Exactly. It's all interconnected. Responsible AI isn't just one thing. It touches data, algorithms, evaluation, governance, the whole life cycle.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together for everyone listening.
Yeah, the big picture.
It seems clear the global AI landscape is, well, incredibly dynamic. Intense competition is ramping up, especially with places like Greater China and Europe making big strides in adoption.
Definitely. And innovation is just breakneck speed across the board, hardware, software models, applications like video generation, even into critical fields like medicine.
But it comes with challenges, right? That shrinking data access is a real concern.
It is. And alongside that, the whole question of responsible AI ethics, safety, environmental impact is rightly becoming a much bigger part of the conversation globally.
So hopefully diving into this AI index report has given you, our listener, a pretty solid, but hopefully not overwhelming picture of where AI stands right now. It's moving fast, impacting everything.
Yeah, and it affects everyone, regardless of how technical your background is, which I guess leads us to a final thought for you to chew on.
Go for it.
Well, thinking about all the speed, the global race, the push for responsibility, what do you see as the biggest opportunities and maybe the biggest challenges coming up fast, both globally and maybe in the areas you're most interested in?
That's a good one. Definitely something to think about after we sign off.